Hey everyone, I'm Carson, and I wanted to present about something that I've been learning about. For those of you that know me, I like to learn by teaching, and so I'm just going to go into this. I'm trying a new medium of giving a slide presentation over a YouTube video, kind of call back to grad school and living in the corporate world. This might really be my medium now. So we'll try it out. I hope that you enjoy it. So I'm talking about spiral dynamics, which is a system of psycho-spiritual development. It describes levels of conscious awareness. And I'll first give you a background as to what this system is, and I'll tell you about the content of the system, what the levels actually are. Then I'll talk a bit about why this is cool, and pitfalls and spiritual bypass. This is a term that gets thrown around a whole lot, spiritual bypass, and I think this system is very relevant to it. So first of all, what is spiral dynamics? It's a system for thinking about levels of conscious awareness, cultural complexity. You can talk about where a culture is in terms of its values, and psychological development. If you've heard of the Keegan levels of psychological development, they are contained inside of it. They're an inspiration to this system and also contained within it. This system is syncretic, developed by all of these people, and you can read about them if you want to. It's a secular description of awareness that aligns in places with spiritual thought. So this is sort of the only bibliography I'm going to have on here, so there you go. Warnings and disclaimers, these are mine. Spiral Dynamics talks about levels of consciousness and tiers, and I think it's very tempting and it's a bit of a danger to think that higher tiers are better and that I want to be thinking at a higher level of consciousness. I'm going to warn against this. Higher tiers are not necessarily better in this system. This framework is descriptive, not prescriptive. In the best case scenario, the higher levels are perhaps a tool that can give you the awareness to help improve yourself or move yourself in a direction that you want. People who can access higher levels are not necessarily better. Their behavior may in many senses be worse. I think this is one of the most fascinating things about the system, and it describes this really well. So that is something that I'm excited to talk about. Compare these claims to meditation doesn't necessarily make you more moral, it's just a tool. Many spiritual paths also explicitly advise against seeing spiritual growth as a means to an end. An additional reminder, I am just like some dude. There are no spiritual authorities. They don't exist. And you are responsible for your own beliefs. Take what works for you, don't take what doesn't work for you. Listen to yourself about it. So let's get into the system. I think that once I describe what all of the levels are, it will become clearer what this is all about, why this is interesting, why this is relevant. So level 1 is the instinctive level. Babies are at this level, and many animals, particularly ones that are not social, occupy this level for their entire existence. This is basic consciousness of my own needs and my emotions. I'm sad, I'll cry. I'm hungry, I'll find food. Level 2 is the animistic in the original system. Empathic is the word I'm going to use for it. This is consciousness of the other and theory of mind. This first pops up in humans at around 2 to 3 years old, and we have all kinds of interesting psychological development experiments that we can do on pre-verbal children to see this. So this is basic empathy. I know that I have my own needs, thoughts, and emotions, and I'm interacting with you, and I know that you are being like me, who has your own thoughts and emotions. That's level 2. It's also associated with anthropomorphism of animals and nature. This is why it was called animistic in the original one. It's talking about an animistic society. This includes concepts like the mountain is angry, so we have to do this. It is imparting a mind onto the other. Level 3, impulsive, or I call it the ego level. We're starting to see how the levels build on top of each other. Each level kind of takes the previous level and takes a step back and looks at it from a broader perspective or a containing perspective. So at level 3, I know that I exist and I have needs, and you exist and you have a mind as well, and your mind has an idea of me. So at level 3, I understand your consciousness of me, and this is basically an ego. And it is associated with manipulation because it is in some sense empowering. Once I understand that you have a story of me, that I am a character, and I can think about that story, I am able to tell that story to you in a way that will influence your actions. Almost all socialized humans reach this stage. And yeah, everyone listening has an ego. All right, level 4. So level 4 is we take another step back from this consciousness of the third party observer view. You and I are interacting, but you have a idea of me and I have an idea of you. Not only that, but I can think about what a third party observer would think about our interaction, or I can think about what if two people were acting the way that we were and I was watching them. This is the depersonalized view, and this is where we get ideas of right and wrong. Not what will my actions do to you, but is this action right? Is it wrong? And we get rules and judgment and ethics, from the culture that you're in. A sizable percentage of adults, according to the system, the claim is they stop here. Not the majority in the modern world, but a sizable percentage of them. So this is right and this is wrong. That's it. That's what I know. That's what I've been taught my whole life. Level 5 is when we can take a step back from that. You and I are having an interaction in this society where there might be a societal ethic about what is right and wrong here, but I am allowed to have my own opinions about that. I can think about that. This is where I have consciousness of the systems of rules and ideologies that determine right and wrong. And this is where critical thinking and philosophy and objectivity and meta-ethics all come in. And this level is associated with materialism and material objectives. And that's why it's called the achiever level. Science lives at this level because right and wrong isn't just a simple fact, and we have to analyze it and think about it, and I have to form opinions about it. The measurable, the objective, the material becomes very interesting. This also is the level that unlocks counterculturalism, individualism. All of these are, I can have an opinion about the culture, which might be whatever it is. Maybe the culture we're living in is Christian, but I can decide, I think this is good or bad. I think for these personal reasons. Level 6 is where things start to get pretty interesting. Level 6 is the sensitive level. So this is consciousness of the way that each individual's lived experience shapes the way that I think. So now I know that we're living in a society and that society has rules, but I have my own opinions about what objectives, what utility, whatever I've decided is actually right according to me, and you have different ones. And now at level 6, I understand that, and I understand that we both have our ideas, our personal philosophies, based on the trajectories of our lives and our lived experience. And there's nothing fundamental that makes me more right than you. Both of our perspectives are equally valid to our lived experience. This is postmodernist thought, this is radical tolerance, this is inclusivity, this is subjectivism, and there's something that feels a little groundless about it. This level can feel, from the inside, a little disturbing, because how can we say or do anything if every perspective is equally valid? Then there is no right and wrong anymore, not even according to me. What do we do about that? And this is where level 7 comes in. We take a step back from that. So this is, I become conscious of the way that individuals, observers, myself, and cultures and society interact systemically and change with time. So yeah, we live in a culture and that culture has rules and I have opinions about it and you have opinions about it, but I exist as part of this world and I have agency to express my value in it and to promote harmony non-judgmentally. 7 is non-judgmental expression of your own value, and to see everything as interacting systems that we have the ability to harmonize. So maybe these two people are having a conflict in this system, the level 4 perspective is one of these people is wrong. The level 5 perspective is I think that this person is wrong according to such and such philosophy or such and such calculation or such and such utility determinations. At level 6, we just kind of say, oh, well, each person, this person came from this culture and that's totally valid. And this person is from this culture and they are on equal footing in some way. But at level 7, we can say, oh, well, what can I do? I'm talking to this person. Should this person understand where this person came from? And can I help that way? Could this person maybe go back here? Or maybe there's lots of exchange between these two cultures and we need to think about it and understand the complexities of that. So it's interacting with things systemically. The claim of the system is that this is a very new mode of thought, but I don't really think so. I read a lot of Taoism, and this is a very Taoist perspective. Confucian perspective is down at level 4. That's like kind of these are the rules. But this sounds like Lao Tzu. This sounds like Zhuangzi. And I found that pretty interesting. Level 8. And here is where my descriptions are going to start to get bad, because I don't think that I'm actually inhabiting level 8 thinking very much, or really any of the time, possibly. Level 7, I think I have pretty stable access to, but I don't think level 8. So I'm going off the best I have from the descriptions I'm reading and trying to extract some abstract understanding from that. So at level 8, everything is a system interacting. I am changing over time, and I can de-identify and simply observe my change and interactions in the world. So not only am I not judging the world, but I'm not judging myself. I'm not even necessarily guiding myself. I'm just watching myself. And this can unlock a certain authorship and agency over my own self-growth. I can allow the experiences of others to peacefully interact with my own and my own life experiences and allow those to change me and think about how those change me and observe that. That's level 8. So level 9 is the last level. This is the top of second tier. Level 9 is the level 3 tier, and or the third tier, and it's maybe theoretical, and it's basically Nirvana. Basically, level 9 is described as the states of non-dual immediate awareness that people who have meditative breakthroughs reach, and that kind of thing. So this unlocks the ability to harmoniously inhabit all the levels as appropriate. Up to this point, the levels have been building off of one another by a watcher watching a watcher, watching a watcher, watching a watcher, broader and broader perspectives. At level 9, this all collapses. It's the unitive level, and we simply are a collection of experiences in the world, and we're able to inhabit all of the levels of thinking as appropriate. So that's level 9. And yeah, probably Buddha was here. Very few humans are here, even according to what the system claims. Very few humans ever reach this level. Okay, so take a breath. Those are the levels. Those are the 9 levels for complexity of conscious awareness. Why is this cool? Why do I think this framework, this system of classification is cool? So one thing is, immediately, it's a framework that can describe basically any thought. We can label all kinds of thoughts and judgments using this system. So, here's a situation based on real life, but de-identified, details changed, whatever. So say I was in a conflict with a roommate, and this is a level 3 evaluation. This is an egoic awareness of our relationship to one another. They were complaining that another roommate's car extended slightly onto the sidewalk and that this broke city law. That's a level 4 statement. That's saying these are the rules, this is wrong. That's level 4. I argued that this is unenforced and it's not hurting anyone. That's level 5. That's saying, well, according to these measures, like these are the rules in general, but maybe we don't have to follow that in this situation. And I was annoyed. That's level 1. That's my emotions. because of some other reason, level 5. And I also thought it was potentially motivated by prior conflict with another roommate. Whether or not this is true, that is a level 2 judgment. That is imagining what is in your head. Um, and this caused them to become frustrated with me. Also, this is a level 3 observation, and this just like didn't help. This I was not approaching this in a way that was helping things. That's a level 7 observation. So I softened the conflict by noting that regardless of the outcome, that's level 5, their preference that this not be happening is valid. Everyone's preference is valid, regardless of the values that they're narrating. That's level 6. I apologize for my own tone. That's level 3. And I urge us to view this as a matter of compromise, not principle moving forward. So that's kind of a level 7 action to take. Maybe if I was observing how this changed me in the moment, that would be level 8 if I was detached in some way. All right, let's talk about the structure of the framework. I think it's pretty obvious that the levels build on one another. You know, you have to have a concept of someone else's mind before you know that they have a concept of you. You have to have an idea of right and wrong before you can argue about what is right or wrong from analysis. But in one sense, does it spiral? And I think there's this back and forth oscillation of the orientation of the levels that's really interesting. So all of the even levels are about turning towards the world. They're about turning away from the self. They're observational. So like at level 1, I'm very focused on me. What are my needs? At level 2, oh, this person has thoughts also. This is the world. At level 4, I'm thinking about, is this right or wrong in some world sense, in the sense of my culture? At level 6, I'm thinking about, well, level 5, that's just my perspective. And everyone has their own perspectives in their own lives. They're all turning away from the self. The odd levels are all turning back towards the self, reorienting towards the self. At level 3, I'm saying, oh, well, you have your ideas. That means you have ideas about me. And there's a story, and I can have an idea of my own character. At level 5, at level 4, I have an idea of the rules. At level 5, well, what do I think of the rules and why? At level 6, okay, everyone's experiences are valid at level 7, but so are mine, and I'm an agent in this system. I am part of this reality, of this complex interaction of things. And level 9 is, who knows what it is? Maybe it is agentic. So this is a take from a random Vivian Dittmar, internet person. So another way to look at the structure of spiral dynamics is that it is a journey from unconscious unity, that's the immediate instinctive, all the way away from unity back towards conscious unity at level 9, where level 5, the objectivism, is the apex of separation, is what she calls it. And it's an interesting observation because much of our culture lives here in the US, and I think in San Francisco especially. And in what sense is it separation? It's separation from the self, separation between these different modes of thought, and separation from the immediate. And so maybe this is concerning that so much of our culture is in this separated state. All right, now I'm going to talk about some pitfalls of the system. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I've kind of alluded to this, is advancing good? That's a very interesting question. Many of the levels have a dark night of the soul characteristic. And what I mean by that is that there's a way that the oscillating back and forth, you turn away from the value of a level towards something else. You have to let go of something. And then maybe you'll be able to turn back towards that thing. So there's a line in Mastering the Core Teachings of the Buddha, better not to start. Once begun, better to finish. And I think spiral dynamics has a bit of that characteristic. I talked about the groundlessness of level 6, how you can seem kind of lost. So maybe advancing isn't always good in that sense, as well as possibly other senses. It's interesting that attachment to the values of a level inhibit one from understanding the following level. But things may come back around. An example, at level 1, I'm focused on me and my instincts. Moving to level 2 is a difficult transition that everyone has to make as children, but you have to let go of your own needs to see that another exists and to think about their mind and what they're going through and empathize with them. This is abandoning the values of level 1. I care about my own needs when I'm in level 1. I have to forget about that for a second. But once I advance to level 3, I'm more empowered. I have this broader perspective where I understand that you have an idea of who I am, and I have agency over that, over how I tell that story. And actually, that can help me manipulate you to fulfill my needs at level 1. So level 3 is more empowered to help level 1 than level 1 is alone. However, once you're at level 3, maybe you won't care about that anymore. Maybe you won't care about these values, but you had to go through this journey where you turned away from them to get there. And I'm going to posit that this happens at higher levels as well. So at level 5, the kind of the objectivity level, for me, a trained scientist, releasing objectivity was one of the most difficult advancements in understanding in my life up to this point. Even a couple years ago, I don't think I was there. The non-judgmental subjectivism of 6 can feel very lost. It's very hard when you're so focused on the objective and the measurable to say, oh, well, actually, everyone's perspective is equally valid. And everyone has their own life, and I think the things that I think because I've had my own life, and that's just true. That feels very lost. But once you reach there, then you can move to level 7, where there's a sense of harmonious empowerment that wouldn't be possible without moving through 6. And level 7 can lead to better outcomes by the judgment of level 5. Whether or not I care about them anymore, the same outcomes, the same objectives once I'm here, that's a question. I'm always transforming. So all the levels have different values. Advancing is transformation. It's never direct maximization of the value of a prior level. So these levels are about what is good, and they are about values. So I don't think we can say that advancing is good in that sense. But also, maybe it's just bad. By the standard of all the levels, or many different levels, from the perspective of others. Like, I can imagine an objectivist CEO who operates at level 5 most of the time. They're thinking about, all right, the bottom line, like, what gets us there? This is value. It's objective. Let's measure things. But they might be a jerk. They might be kind of failing level 2. And they might actually be bad for the world, according to someone else's level 5. Whereas someone with very little self-awareness, they're not even quite at level 3, but say they have a warm heart and have an excellent attunement to their own needs and the needs of others. They have a really solid level 1 and 2, and they can be a joy to everyone around them. So level 7 might think that this person is better for harmony than this person, and or might choose to purport the value of this person more than this person. I'm trying to phrase that non-judgmentally, so it's actually 7. Yeah, that's very interesting. All right, spiritual bypass. Spiritual bypass is a term that gets thrown around a whole lot in meditation communities, spiritualist communities, and it's used rather loosely. And I think my favorite thing about spiral dynamics, about this framework, is that it made it really clear to me what is meant by this term, like what's really going on when someone is spiritually bypassing. And this is the observation that access to a higher level relies on access to a lower level, but it does not imply mastery, goodness, or even competency at lower levels. And let's observe a situation. Let's look at a situation. So let's go back here. I'm me. I can think at all these levels. I'm talking to this person. I'm interacting with this person. And these two people are in a conflict, and we're inside this society. And everything's interacting. Well, and say I want to help I want to help that conflict. I want to harmonize it. So I am a level 7, and I have my motivation, and I am ready to non-judgmentally harmonize this system of interactions. Great, my level 7 is solid. I know that all perspectives are valid in their context. Great, my level 6 is solid. I understand the material realities of this situation and the decisions we make here and how things will likely work out. My level 5 is solid. I'm a great strategist. But maybe I don't actually have a good understanding of what right and wrong is in the culture in which we're embedded. So I can't understand properly the perspectives of this person who's operating in this culture. This is a failure at level 4. Or maybe I'm not empathizing with the person I'm interacting with properly. I'm not understanding their emotions. I'm not modeling them well. This is a failure at level 2. Or I haven't realized that I'm the wrong person delivering the right message. I'm telling this person what they need to hear, but I am, because of their concept of me, I'm not going to be able to be effective in doing that. And that's a failure at level 3. Or I'm out of touch with my own needs and it's affecting my discernment or ability. That's a failure at level 1. So that's, I think, a really clear statement of spiritual bypass to me, which is that I can be way up here when that's not what the situation actually calls for. I'm deficient at some lower level. Another thing that can happen is one can be imbalanced. And the system talks about this, how you can be at level 8 cognitively. I can understand maybe in the abstract what level 8 is about, but maybe morally I'm down at level 4. I'm just operating under my embedded sense of right and wrong, and the way I behave in the world is very bound to that. Maybe spiritually I don't experience myself watching myself, even though I understand the possibility of that. They also mentioned kinesthetic dimension. I don't even know what that's about. That's how can one's body be at level 4 versus 5? I'm not entirely sure what that means, but there's lots of different modalities, and that's, I think, a pitfall to notice, is you can be imbalanced. So that's all I have for today. Spiral dynamics is fun. It's a descriptive model, not a recommendation. I hope that you've enjoyed this exploration of it, like I have. It does give some clear language to some common psychospiritual phenomena. It's an interesting tool for thinking about thinking, for thinking about perspectives, and maybe all the drawbacks get fixed at level 9. Maybe at level 9, like, all those problems I talked about just go away and it's great. I wouldn't know. I've got to give credit to this YouTube video. There's a YouTube channel called Ho Math that gave a great description of all of these levels, and I kind of borrowed heavily from it in the way that I presented this material. I'm in the awkward position of crediting but not recommending this channel. It's unfortunately a little bit red pilly, and I think that the guy, his resentment about his dating life, while not stated explicitly, kind of comes through in his presentation and the situations he chooses to talk about in a way that is going to make his content inaccessible to lots of people. It's kind of a level 7 way of describing that. Great description though, so I've got to credit him for that. Thank you, and have a good day.